Alright, so this video shall be me showcasing my work that I've done for the entirety of the the sprint, or the second sprint for November, end of November month, where I completed my 100 hours. So I shall now be showcasing this and all that I have accomplished um, after the first sprint. So, um, for the spawner, I created a spawner called test spawner right here, and I'll now showcase its script and explain how it actually works. So let me edit the script and let me explain how it actually works. Alright, so in this script for the spawner, I have a couple of variables up here: delay time, spawn timer. This is pretty much just a timer setup, so enemies don't spawn constantly. There's a bit of a wait between there, and you can actually customize the delay time between each spawn. Melee AI, range AI, two different types of enemies that can be spawned. Range enemy objects, so it's a reference. Spawn location, list, enemy amount, and enemy limit. So in void updates, I use a nav mesh agent for the spawner. The reason why I did this for a spawner is so I didn't want it so that enemies just spawn in one set location on the map. I wanted the spawner to move around the map so the enemies will occupy the entire area of the map. So here, this is the coding segment for the spawner, which actually is going to be, which as you see right here, spawn time more than equal to delay time. Then update list, which is up here, it's a method. And then pretty much what this does here, instantiate new enemy, so it creates a new enemy, transform the position, transform rotation, set in destination. So pretty much what this does is that the enemy is going to be spawned right on top of the test spawner, and that's the reason why I gave the test spawner a empty or a nav mesh agent, so it actually can move around and spawn there. Next, the method. This is actually a for statement or for loop, and basically this is for the limit. So as I said in my PowerPoint, I've implemented a limit, as you can see right here, enemy limit, and then we have enemy amount. So this is the counter and this is the limit. So what the counter does is that it counts every enemy instance that is on the map. So if there are two enemies spawned from the spawner, it's going to be 2, 5, and so on. Enemy limit is that when, for example, once 5 enemies are spawned from the spawner, it's going to stop its functionality, which it was implemented so that if an enemy were to be destroyed, it would actually repopulate it. So I will going to run the code and showcase this to you. So let me just get a better angle, maybe fly up a little bit. Alright, get a better angle. Alright, so I'm going to run the code and showcase the spawner. So you can see it's focused on the spawner right here. Currently I have the, see? Right, so it spawns 5 enemies, right? So let me actually pause it here. So if you look here, the delay timer is 1, and you can see we have a timer going. So if I were to stop this, and if I were to make it a bit more significant to see the difference, let's put it for 7. So I put it for 7, and then I run it, and we look. As you can see here, the test spawner, you can see the timer going. As soon as it reaches 7, boom, enemy is spawned. And then if you could look here, when the next 7 reaches, it's gonna go up 2, right? So in order, so that showcases the timer, and that showcases the amount of enemies that are spawned through the spawner. Next thing I like to showcase is the limit. So if I were to make this a bit faster, so put the delay time to maybe 2 seconds, right? Put delay time 2 seconds and start it, right? So every 2 seconds, as you can, if you look up here, use press test spawner. Every 2 seconds, a new enemy is spawned, and you can see the spawner is moving so that enemies don't just spawn in one point of the field as before, one point of the area. So something I wanted to showcase is actually here. So as you can see, these are actually all the various instances of the enemies. So what would happen if we would remove an enemy? So if I were to press here, shift, and press here, and delete, as you can see, the test spawner just goes back and starts repopulating immediately. And so enemy amount is 3, 4, 5, and stops because enemy limit is 5. What about you? And this actually is able to be manipulate in real time. So if I put enemy limit for 10 and I put the delay time for 1, as you can see, it's going to, let me actually move Frida around so they move around a bit more. They're actually stuck. So let me just start and restart it. So I put enemy limit for 10. You can see it's actually going to keep spawning until it spawns 10 enemies. And I put the delay time for 1. As you can see, every second I'm going to spawn more enemies. And if I come along to here, press this, shift, press here, delete, all enemies are just going to be repopulated. So that's a showcase of the full functionality of the spawner. It works well, can be implemented through either a range AI or enemy AI, but it can be used standalone and can be implemented into multiple different scenarios, and can be used different stages, different levels. Once it has a, as you can see right now, it has a physical form. As you can see, when some enemies spawn, they actually bounce into it, is because it has the nav mesh around it, making it an object that can be collided into. All I need to do to stop that collision is either set it to ignore enemies, so enemies just pass right through it. So that's a showcase of my spawner. It works perfectly. It moves around. Um, I have the timer set, the amount, and the limit. So as a showcase of the work that I accomplished in this second sprint.